Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. One of my favourite utilities of all time, actually. And you're actually not a utility, but you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
know,
mean.
you can kind of play anywhere, but obviously you're an edge back rower. Wade Graham. Whenever I send the call out, he comes. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
No, my pleasure, mate. And before we start, congratulations on everything. It was
Thanks,
a long time ago since I jumped on.
Mate, what, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, probably closer to 4 years, I reckon.
Ridges so it was the Kemp in the car thing.
Yeah, and then under Ridges. Yeah.
And then Ridges. So Ridges, I used to pay like $150. It was this tiny shit carpet room. And the media walls behind each person?
Yeah, it is an old school room there.
Fucking
An
hell.
old school hotel. But you've done well, mate. The whole brand, the beer,
Thanks,
the
bro.
pop-up bar in Broady, and now you're in the big smoke down to Sydney.
Mate, the big smoke. I'm just trying to bring some Queensland morals and ethics to this this absolute debauchery of a city. No, gee up. I love Sydney, guys. I love Sydney. How you been, brother? Obviously, had a bit of injuries last year, but you guys had a very young side last year and a lot of debutants. How's it feeling for you personally after this pre-season, but also as a team?
Yeah, I think we're in a really good spot, actually. So over the last couple of years, big transition of players, starting from like Luke Lewis, the Paul Gallons, guys like this leaving the club, and even, Josh Morris has left last year. And I think over the last 2 seasons, we've had Worked, and then the Bronson stuff after. So it's just a bit of timing. But, in that space of 2 seasons, I think there's been 11 debuts for the club. So
and still making finals, so good.
And still, and the biggest thing, we'd always play well in patches, but it's just finding that consistency to play well, which is king in the NRL, consistently playing at that high level, which sort of guarantees your success. But, we still managed to show enough and do enough at times to play finals both years. And then we roll around to now. So all these guys who have made their debuts into their second, third seasons, and then, you throw that in with the senior players who, we have 3 or 4 off contract, 3 or 4 coming off probably not the best years last year.
What's really interesting, and I didn't think about it till now, but you and the Broncos are actually relatively similar in the fact that a lot of older, experienced players moved on. And I know you probably can't comment on this, but it seems like you guys have handled it much better. You got the cap obviously reduced with everything that went on with that. You had, some like I think Luke Lewis is one of the greatest fucking back rowers / utilities of all time. You got Gallen, you got some of your forwards that moved on. You got Pryor that moved on. Yeah. So you had a big batch move on, just like the Broncos. But it seems that you guys handled that. You're handling the transition better. Very easy for you guys last year to go, throw the towel in, things aren't working, finish 11th or 12th. But you just kind of just did what Cronulla does. They just fucking hung in there.
Yeah, well, I think there's, obviously not knowing the ins and outs of the Broncos. I think we probably have a touch more experience. It's definitely in our spine. We had, obviously, Chatty and Sean Johnson in our spine where, we had 2 young guys in Bradley and Will Kennedy come through and play majority of the season. So there was a bit more stability in the key positions, which is massive.
Totally.
Especially in all those close games, like where 2 points, 4 points can be the difference. And then probably, a couple of other senior players who have been around long enough and been through enough adversity to realise, hanging in there sometimes all you need to do. It's a marathon of a season. And
absolutely.
And you're not going to probably be up and at your best all the time. But sometimes all it takes is just hang in there, stay in the fight, and throughout different stages of the season, you'll get a bit of momentum and get the wins that you need necessary to go deep in September. Like his guy's been around a long time, and that's what I meant when we've had a couple of guys. We've probably had 1 or 2 more senior guys than the Broncos did in that transition, it's invaluable, that experience, just to know, because You're never going as good as you think you are, but you're never going as bad as you think you are either. So it's you're only 1 game away from maybe not turning it completely around, but 1 game away from making it better. And then if you make it better that game, you can make it better the next game. And if you slowly just go on that upward trend, well, then all of a sudden a month goes past, you've won 3 from 4, and you've climbed up the ladder.
Totally. Well, you look at the period where you guys. The talk was, in the big games, you were struggling. If you go on and win 3 big games, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Sharks are fucking here to win it. You know what I mean? It's 3 games. That's it.
Yeah, and it's just riding through the momentum, really. external noise is a big thing, and it's a massive part of the game, and it's a good part of the game because it means people want to know what's going on, and it draws the attention of so many fans, and media want to talk about teams every day. Like every day, there's content on rugby league, which is good for a sport. But as an individual, when you're immersing it and playing it every day, you just got to try and distance yourself from that because it's a story that goes day to day, to week to month to month, and your role in that is to try and make your club play well and not worry about what the story is. You just got to get out there and play well. So again, easier said than done on the other side.
Because even if you try and stay away from it, people will tag you and stuff, this, that, the next thing.
It is hard. And that's, again, where experience helps. And that's why I feel like now being, having so many guys turned over and a lot of those guys being in their second and third year with it, but they're probably not just happy to come to training and be in the team now, be playing first grade. They want to come and hang on a minute, I want to really take that next step and become an elite player and help our team have success. So I think we have that, and then we have our older guys, 3 or 4 of them who are off contract and have a lot to play for. And, by a lot of us, our own admission, it wasn't our best years last year. And there's the motivation there to be better.
So when's SJ back? Around 10, 11?
I'm not sure with the progression of Achilles, how much load of running you need to put into it, because everyone, I've never had one, touch wood myself, but they say once it snaps and you get the rehab and start running again, it's actually stronger than before.
Oh, okay.
But you still need to get that running load in. So
do you have one of those machines with the water in that?
It has the Alter G where it takes the weight off you.
Yeah.
So
people listening, it's like a treadmill, and it's like there's like water.
Oh, it's not water. So you get zipped in with a it's like tights that are airtight and takes your weight, and then it fills the bag below you full of air, and through taking your weight with the air pressure, it can actually take you from carrying 100% of your weight to 90, 80, 70, whatever percentage of weight you want. So you can rebuild at 50% of your weight running on a treadmill, just on a treadmill. And then as you progress, you can go to 60, 70, 80% until you're running full body weight on a treadmill. And then once you're at that stage, you're back out on the field.
Technology,
so they're pretty cool.
It's so important because that running mechanic, whenever I did my shoulder reconstruction or whatever, had 8 weeks or longer, let's say 3 months, it feels weird to run again, just to run. But if you can keep those mechanics going, it helps a lot.
Well, even with my ACL, when I came back from my ACL, I did a fair bit of running on the Alter G just to build up, the
hard impact on that.
The impact into the knee. And then, so still after doing my Alter G program, when I got out in the field, I still felt a little bit uncoordinated. So I would have hated to see where I was at without that at all in 100%. There. But yeah, they're pretty good these days with what they can do and the programs, and you can only see it improving as we go forward. It's probably a lot of the reason why you see a lot of guys playing a lot later in their careers now. And
being able to track everything, a lot of the, when I was coming through, it was probably 2011, 12, all the heart rate monitors started going. Yeah. But so it's good and it's bad. So for example, for people listening, it's not. So when you're doing fitness, if you were really fit back in the day, as long as you made the hardest time, it was sweet. So you could actually kind of bludge a little bit if you're really fit.
Yeah.
Whereas the bad thing about today is they can monitor your heart rate. So if you're not hitting the strenuous heart rate of 180 or fucking 170 or whatever, they'll be India. They'll be like, all right, we need to make it harder.
Yeah. Well, so it's pretty much if you're the fittest back in the day, you could just cruise because you already had that base level. 100%. But nowadays, if you run so you're testing, if you win the fitness, come the first fitness day, your distance of running will be further than anyone else's 100%. Because they need you to hit that mark because that's your threshold for you to be training. So
it's good for load.
Pretty good.
It's good for load management.
100%. It's a lot you still train hard and intense, but it's a lot smarter now. They know exactly where you are.
When we were coming through, you just get flogged. It would an actual flogging of just 2 hours. Boys, we're just gonna break this. We want blokes throwing up everywhere, crawling along the ground, doing all weird shit.
I remember my first couple of seasons, even when you go back to Harold Matts and SG Ball and stuff like that, you have proper anxiety the day when you knew your big day was coming. You sort of had 2 or 3 big days a week, and I'd have anxiety at home the night before going, okay, it's going to be a big day, and then you'd wake up and you'd drive up the train early and you'd just be no one would be talking in the dressing chairs because they just knew.
Mm.
And then you just get out there and, like you said, you just run for an hour.
And you totally like genuine anxiety. Like you'd be lying in bed, like unable to sleep because you're like, fuck, we're going to get fucking towed.
We used to do these track sessions and we'd just rock up on a track, like on a running track at maybe 6 or 7 in the morning and we'd just run 800s, 400s, 800s, 400s. And like this is... I'm thinking I want to play footy here. I want to get the ball out.
It has nothing to do with footy, absolutely. Actually, funny you say that because obviously I played soccer till I was 17. Soccer, you don't really do fitness. Like when I was coming through anyway, it was because you were already so light and so fit, you were just fit anyway because you were already doing a lot of Ks. Whereas the thing with rugby league, you need to put on muscle mass. Therefore, you need to keep your fitness, but you also need to. So when we came to rugby league, I was shocked that there were fitness days. I was like, what do you mean? Like we just run. We don't play any of the sport. But you're totally right. It was a weird kind of like, what's this got to do with footy? Like we're not getting, but obviously it does help. Like it helps.
For sure. You need to build that base and
100%.
That's how you get your longevity and stay healthy throughout the year. You talk to anyone who's been around long enough, their best seasons would come off the back of a real good pre-season where you get the work in. You set yourself up for a good year and you just know you're going to get through the year well. Absolutely.
There's nothing more, I guess, if you have a bad preseason where you just barely do it or whatever you just in rehab, it's like a flip of the coin whether you're going to have a good season. Yeah. It's pretty much like you might have the best season or the worst season, whereas if you have a solid preseason, it's very rarely, unless you do like, a bad thing like ASL or whatever, very rare that you have a poor season.
Unless you're someone like GI, Jarryd Hayne, Billy, who's just...
Piss me off. Too good.
They're very good at everything. But
Hayne was a notorious bad trainer, and then he would just go, and be the best.
Haynes is probably the most talented player I've played against or with, like in all honesty, throughout my career. Just the things he was able to do that just no one else could really do.
Yeah. Him and GI are really... They're kind of the perfect outside back for me.
Well, GI was just so big and physical and could beat you with his palm and his speed, where Hainesy could do that too and he could step around, but he could pass.
100%.
Remember that, was it 09 he went on his run?
Or 09. Yeah, it was 09 and 14 as well.
He's kicking 40-20s from 30 metres. Yeah. Just hitting 40-20s. Like he just had that.
2 Dally M's for a guy that, he's as good as the Cameron Smiths on his day, if not better. But we never really saw Hayne as like the Thurston. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And yet he still won 2 Dally M's. That shows you how incredible he is. He was at a club that struggled, notoriously, other than that 9 year where he basically led them. Whereas the other guys that win the Dally M are usually not. Like, for example, Thurston. Thurston is like universally loved by the NRL. Yeah. Like everyone loves Thurston. He's in Origin. He's won 8 Origins in a row or whatever. Whereas Hayne was this kind of enigma where he was still putting up huge numbers, but it wasn't that same feel, and he was still doing it.
Yeah, it's just just super talented.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He could play for Australia on the left wing, and then for the next game play right centre.
Kill it.
And get man of the match in both games. Yeah. Where
actually 2009, I think you might know this. Didn't he win man of the match 7 games in a row? Bro, that's got to be a record. No one's ever done that again.
He's definitely the guy, like probably one of the guys I play with who's the most talented. If Haynes is in front of you, he could run past you, step you, he could run over you.
Yep.
Or if he skipped into the next bloke, he'd draw and pass or hit the winger. Like he had it.
So many options.
Yeah, had it.
How do you defend that? What did you think of Origin this year? Obviously, you had an injury year, and I feel they actually really missed you this year. As you had so much impact last year in that game 2 when they really needed you. You got beaten in game 1, game 2 in Perth, I think it was. You just really brought a lot to the team, but just at that point of difference. What was it? I know you were travelling quite a lot, but what was your thoughts on the
Well, I was like all Blues fan, to be honest. I was really disappointed. I thought it was. If we look back now as Blues supporters and fans, it's probably an opportunity that we missed, and that's certainly what it feels like. And more so, you look at the series, how it went down, you go, probably game 1 was where we lost it. We were winning at half time there, and we just didn't go on with the job. And then, so we're trailing 1-0, and we bring it back to Sydney, and we play well in Sydney, and we do the job there. And but then you have to go up to Suncorp in front of a full house after a COVID year, which is like an all-time Queensland deploy if I've ever seen it.
I was going to ask you that. No crowds, Origin hits 50,000.
Yeah, it just goes to show how attitudes in Queensland can change when it comes to Origin.
Hey, mate, it's just timing. The footy gods are looking down at us. Clearly, the footy gods are Queenslanders.
But then you go there and Suncorp, full house, full of Queensland. You got to play your best game to win up there. So then, you look back at the whole series and go, we game one.
Should have sorted it.
Game one. Game one, if we get game one done, we wrap it up in game two and you can do what you want in game three. But,
yeah, pretty much.
So, I'm probably like all Blues fan. I'm really disappointed at, it was a great opportunity for that group of guys to win 3 in a row for New South Wales. And, unfortunately, we just couldn't get it done.
Very daunting. That 3 in a row, it starts to go, as a Queensland fan, you start looking around like, oh, fuck, uh-oh. Whereas 2 in a row, it's like, oh, yeah, we had the dynasty, it's gone now. But 3 in a row, as I said, as a Queenslander, you start to go, fuck, confidence is a bit rattled. You start getting that aura around you. Freddie starts getting that aura around you. It's kind of that 8 in a row with the Queensland. They might have won, let's say they get 4 in a row in, that aura can win you games. You know what I mean? Just rattle the...
Well, you start talking about experience, right? What it's like. Because if we go 3 in a row or 4 in a row, like you say, and you keep the same similar spine, you got Cork, Cleary, Teddy at the back, Jackie Whiten's played a couple of series really well, and you start getting these guys who are experienced and just know what it takes to win. And then because New South Wales wins, there's most likely going to be changes in the other team. Exactly. So they're all doing it for the first time against this team where they've been there, they've done it before, they know what it takes, and that's where the experience comes to the top. And even that's what it's amazing, really, during the Queensland dynasty with how good they were, how many good players they had, how many times it went to a decider through those 8 years.
If anything, it shouldn't have. With the squad they had. If anything, the Blues did well.
Especially when you look at, Lockyer, Thurston.
They had immortals
Billy,
in every
Cameron,
position.
GI. These guys
Petro,
are
Thorne.
They're almost like once-in-a-generational players that you see come along every now and again, but all just into one side. So
very rarely injured
hard for a New South Wales fan for a long time. And if you're a rugby league fan, very hard as a New South Welshman. But although we didn't get any wins, we certainly kept turning up and kept having a crack, and hopefully in the future New South Wales can go on a run like that.
Well, I still, even though Queensland won, and as a Queenslander, I still believe New South Wales' depth and the position, you still have the people there to do something special over the next few years. It's, I would still be going into next year's series with New South Wales as favourites, just on paper. Obviously I'm going to Queensland, but it's not like you're in a position where you're going, oh shit, heads are off. Right? I still believe New South Wales are in a great position to have a very strong run. It just depends whether, I think the biggest issue for you guys at the moment is combinations, is making sure picking, I know it's easy to say, but I think it's been good for you guys. Cleary's been there for a few years now. Now it's just about okay, who's his 6 then? Cook's going to be around for a little bit. And I think once you sort that out, I think that'll help go a long way.
It'll be interesting this year to see, back at its normal time slot, mid-year. What do you think of the end of season one?
I didn't know. I mean, it was good. We got Origin. Super grateful. Thank you for putting on. Appreciate it. But mid-year, it's got to be mid-year.
Yeah, I just feel like once the grand final's done, everyone sort of, because it is such a marathon, the NRL season, and it just consumes so much of, especially Brisbane and Sydney, it just consumes so much of the sporting attention of everyone throughout the season that, when you get to that October date, grand final, it's almost like everyone needs a break from it.
Oh, absolutely.
Needs a break from it. Because it's even, you find sometimes with the end of season test matches, but the crowd support at the game is still awesome because, you're there at a test match, Australia versus New Zealand or Australia versus England, and the support is there at the ground. But I feel like the TV audience isn't
as engaged.
Because you just... I thought footy was over. The grand final was happening, I thought footy was over. Totally. So
the grand final is the end, usually. That in your head, you're like, okay, grand final's done. Oh, yeah, a bit of rep footy. But, yeah, I totally agree. But take us back to a young fella born in the glitz and glamour of Blacktown.
Blacktown, yes. Good place out there.
Mate, it's cool to be born out there now. All the rappers and that have made it cool.
Mate, I'm so grateful that I grew up how I did, and with my friends and my family the way I did. I had a great childhood. I got 3 sisters. 2 older, 1 younger. All my earliest best memories of going, like riding my bike to school or walking to school, finishing up and then going out and finding a park and playing footy or playing cricket, riding the bikes, and then, you know, coming home at 5:30 when the lights went off, the street lights went off, and we had a wonderful childhood, never wanted for anything, and always outdoor, always active, and it was a great place to grow up, mate. Rugby league was everything out there.
Yep, absolutely.
So it wasn't something that you really chose to do. You just did it. Like,
it was like part of your life.
Yeah, certainly. In my group of friends, you know, we all went to school together and we all played footy on the weekend together, and then in the summer we all played touch footy together. So it's just what we did. It was a part of our lives, and
totally.
You know, some of my friends who, you know, to this day are my best mates are the guys I grew up with at home.
So good. It's so true that it's a part of our culture. Like growing up as a soccer player, I was always not an outcast. I mean, I did get bullied growing up, but but yeah, I was, you know, I was the weirdo, you know, like because I was so focused on footy and I didn't watch any. So focused on soccer and I didn't watch any footy. Whereas the normal Australian kid, like it's rugby league, it's all, you know, AFL if you live in, you know, Victoria or whatever. So you're totally right. Like it's kind of just a way of life. Like
definitely
live and breathe it.
So my club, Blacktown City, was one of the smaller clubs growing up, but we had an age group in every. We had a team in every age group. Which just goes to show how many kids are out there that play rugby league. But then you got to the clubs that are pretty well off, like the St Mary's, and they could have, you know, up to 5 teams in one age group.
Yeah,
in Division 1, Division 2, all the way down, and it's a great nursery. And then that's just what we did. We just went to school and we played footy, mate.
There's many things I want to do, but like long term, I would love to somehow revitalise getting kids playing sport again. You know, like it's died off so much with kids. Like there's some kids and clubs can't even field a team.
Yeah.
So I would love to really, if I had enough money to like invest in, you know, bringing kids, making it easy for parents to sign their kids up. You know.
Well, I think we're fortunate in Cronulla now, where I live. You know, especially in the summer months, as soon as you see school finished, mate, all the ovals are filled with some sort of organised sport, whether it be tag league, footy, touch, netball. They do. It's got that real community sense. Our sport is
so good.
Sport and being active in Cronulla is a massive thing, whether it be nippers or in the surf. I think, although rugby league's not dominant down there because there's so many things you can do, like it's just one of the many options. It is an aspect that I like of Cronulla, is how physical everyone really is, but especially the kids, mate. Seeing the kids out there playing sport, and
so important.
It makes me feel comfortable. I've got 2 young boys now who they're a bit young at the moment, but in a couple of years.
You didn't have kids when we met last time. That's crazy, bro.
I've got 2 now. So I've got 2.5-year-old and 10-month-old, William and Thomas.
Are they? Which one's taken after you more, you reckon? Loves to get in and amongst it.
William's the oldest at the moment, and he loves the footy.
Yeah.
He does have a little bit of, not aggro, but he's pretty active.
A lot of energy.
But he's real like gentle as well when he gets home with mum. So I'm unsure about which way he's going to go.
Yeah, he could go either way. He could turn into a maniac, or he could be chill as anything.
So, and Tommy's only 10 months, so he got a little bit to go before he gets his little personality.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, they're good. But living in a place like Cronulla, it's sort of so it'd be hard for me to leave a place like that when there's so many options and opportunities for young
place.
kids. And like even just to be able to get them in the surf, it was something I never had as a child. We had little athletics on a Friday afternoon after school, which was cool. But they have nippers in the morning and athletics in the arvo, and then go play league tag with their friends. So it's a good place to live.
So was it always footy for you? As in, did you excel? Obviously, you made your debut whilst you were still at school, but did you excel from a young age, or did it take you a while to kind of find your feet? I
wasn't one of those dominant kids who just was the best player in his club team. We had a lot of good players throughout my age group in the Penrith district. But rugby league was the only organised sport I played. I used to play golf with my old man a fair bit on Sunday mornings in a social club when I was probably 11 to say 16.
So you can hit them all right?
I used to be able to hit them better when I was younger, but I do love my golf.
Okay.
We get out there. I'm a member at Cronulla, so I get down there as much as I can, but not as much as I'd like to at the moment, especially with the 2 kids.
Yep.
I need a permission slip to get out the house at the
100%.
moment. But yeah, so footy was the only organised sport I played, and it didn't get really serious until somehow, for some reason, I got picked up into the Harold Matts trial squad for Penrith, but I was a year up. So I used to play in both age groups. So my age group and the year above me for Blacktown, just to help out with numbers every now and again.
Were you 6 at this point? A 6 or a lock?
I was in the forwards. I was a lock. I used to play in the middle. Yeah, I used to play in the forwards. I used to just tackle, and I was a good talker, so I used to just play in the forwards. So yeah, I used to play my own age group, and I'd play the year above me, and then at the end of the what year would it have been? It must have been 2005. Yeah, 2005. So I was turning 15. I was 14, turning 15, and I got let it come trial for the Harold Matts team, which is 16s for the following year. And yeah, that's where it really started for me. So I went there and we started a proper pre-season training, and used to catch a train up after school from Seven Hills. I went to school and just catch a train to Penrith, and sort of on that train ride, all the different boys would jump on from different schools. So then there'd probably be like maybe 10 or 11 of us.
That's mad.
When we got to Penrith Station, and we'd walk across to the training field, which used to be behind Penrith Station, and then we'd have like a little pre-season run, man. And then
how good's that?
Each sort of couple of weeks, the squad would get cut down, and I got all the way through and played a couple of trial matches, and I got picked for the Harold Matts up in age, and then that was it. That was where it really started to be serious for me then, because the way they trained us, it was hard training for young guys, and then it was diet and introduction to weights, and the first time you got to wear a representative jersey, like a Penrith Panthers jersey.
100%. So wearing all the kit on the train.
And then the year before that, in 2003, Penrith had just won the comp. I remember sitting on the hill, watching them go through that year. Presto was killing it, Craig Gower, Reece Wesser scoring all those tries. And
Reece Wesser was a gun.
That was the thing we'd do. We'd play our footy, and then we'd go and watch the first grade play. And then, the next year, getting picked into Harold Matts, he had that sense of connection with the Penrith Panthers and the club. And that was really the start of when it started to be serious for me. And, and then it was from that moment, it was a pretty quick progression.
Okay, so once you kind of got into the system, you kind of took it a bit. Have you always been a good trainer? Or it's you've learnt it?
No, I think back then we were always good trainers because we just loved it so much. We just loved footy, and we loved getting there and the camaraderie, and we loved training hard, and we always had a good team at Penrith. We were always pretty dominant in the juniors. If we lost one game during the Harold Matts season or the SG Ball season, we'd be filthy.
Oh, really?
If we lost one game. So
who else is currently playing or played in a role that was in that kind of?
So from my age group, Lachlan Coote is over in the Super League. I'm going to get in trouble here for missing some guys.
The boys. I can't believe you forgot me a dog.
Yeah, but a lot of guys like Joey Paulo, Michael Jennings, Sasai Vave.
Wow.
Who else is there? Pretty much that crew was my crew coming through.
Okay.
There's a couple of guys who played a couple of games in first grade, but just it didn't work out for them. But we just had a good crew, and it was good times. We loved doing it. And then because we had a connection to the club, and we loved the area, and we loved playing, junior to Penrith and expecting to win. It was just good fun. And then you see a lot of guys. So the guys that I looked up to the most were like the Michael Jennings and the Tim Grants and the Joey Paulos, because they were the SG Ball players when we were coming through Harold Matts.
Yep.
And I think, so for Harold Matts, I won 2 Harold Matts. I lost an SG Ball grand final. And then that same year, I won a flag grand final. Yeah. And then the following year, went back and started in 20s. I started in SG Ball, actually. SG Ball was the first year of Toyota Cup.
Yep,
so I played 2 games of ball. I played about, 6 or 7 games of Toyota Cup, 2008, and then I debuted for the first grade team. All in the space of 3 months. It happened quick.
So you were in what? So you said, SG Ball, did you say?
Yeah, I was 18 SG Ball. Well, I was 17, turning 18. So that was my proper SG Ball age.
So you were still training with the SG Ball?
I was training with the 20s because the SG Ball season had kicked off earlier. They threw us back down. 2 of us, it was me and Greggy Waddell. We went back down. And to be honest, I didn't play that well, actually.
Really?
I was sort of kicking stones because the year before I'd played in the Jersey Flag Grand Final and won it. So I thought
you should have been in the 20s.
In my head, it was a demotion to go back to my own age group. And then, didn't deal with it well at that time. I was only a kid and
you just
kicking stones and just sort of going through the motions. But then Greg actually did his ACL, and he was the other guy who played in the flag grand final the year before as well. And then after that I went back with the 20s and stayed in the 20s until I made my debut.
And so what position were you playing in the 20s?
5'8".
5'8".
5'8", yeah.
And so you were still training with the 20s, but the phone call to come and train with first grade, was that the week of your debut?
Nah, so because we'd won the flag grand final the year before, a lot of us actually got promoted to it'd be training and trial.
Yeah, extended squad kind of
yeah,
thing.
almost development, because back then it was a top 25 still.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a real short.
You were the
screw.
little kids in the corner wigging out about fitness.
Yeah.
All the older boys.
I got a funny story actually talking about fitness. So I was still at school at the time, and I remember Matty Elliott was the coach, and we trained pretty much the end of the school holidays, say January in the preseason, and we had to go back to school. But Matty wanted to get another session in because I'd run as the reserve grade half pretty much. So he said, "Oh, do you want to come to train?" And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." So we went to train on the Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday. I was supposed to be going to school. And we got towed up, mate. We're at the track, just running these laps. And we do like 10 or 15 minutes of ball work after, like pretty much nothing. It was just a whole running session. So then anyways, Matty hits me up after. He goes, "Oh, you're going to come to training again tomorrow?" I said, "No, mate, I'm going to go to school. I've already missed one day of school. I'm going to go back to school."
That's so bad, mate. If you're that age, you want to be going to school. You don't want to just come and get towed up.
No, that was all right. It was good fun, mate.
Yeah.
Like looking back now, mate, some of the best times of my life, really. 16-year-old, 17-year-old, getting the train with. At this stage, was Petro Sivanasi was captain, and training with Reece Wesser, training with Luke Lewis, guys like Louis was still on the wing then.
Luke Lewis and Rooney, the big Root dogs.
Rooney was there, Trent Waterhouse, all these guys who I'd loved. Of the 03 grand final, I was a kid.
Was Marty Lang? When did he retire? Marty Lang.
Nah, Marty Lang had just finished up before I'd come in. So
big Marty Lang, running it straight.
Tony Pulatua, Frank Pulatua, they were all there, and I was just loving life. It was what you dreamed about.
Absolutely.
If Matty had asked me to come every day for free, I would have come every day for free. But,
so good. The call to debut, how does that happen? What were you doing?
So I trained the week previous with the team, and there'd been a bit of speculation that they were going to play me that week, but it wasn't true at all. It's just someone from the media just got hold. I was up training full time. At that stage, I was going to school once a week. So every Wednesday was a day off at school. A day off at Penrith. So I'd go to school on Wednesday.
So you're only going to school once a week?
Once a week.
Were you homeschooling or something or not?
No. So the school was good. It was a sports school. I used to go there, and by that stage, I was in my final year. So I was, by the time I started full time, I was probably heading into my third term of year 12.
Okay, so you're at the end.
So warming up for the HSCs. So I would just go in and see my teachers for my subject, and they give me practice questions, and I'd do my question. They would mark it, and I'd redo it, or they'd tell me what I need to fix up, and that was how I learnt my lessons then. So that was all done on a Wednesday. I'd do all my 5 subjects.
How long did that take for the day?
It was a whole day pretty much. So I'd spend like almost a period with each teacher and just get it done. Or they were great.
That's a great school to do that.
The school was great. It was Hill Sports. It was a wonderful opportunity. They were great with all athletes. Like we had Sally Shippard play at the Olympics one year when she was still at school.
Wow.
So she was 16 playing at the Olympics, and she missed a whole chunk of her schooling.
Wow.
But the school worked it out, and she got her lessons done online and whatever she had to do. But so at that stage, I'd trained pretty much full time for a few weeks, and then the week against the Dragons, Matty called me in, and then he said, like, "We're going to play you this week. What do you think of that?" And I was like, "Let's go!"
Wow.
Couldn't take the smile off my face. So. It was a good week. It was a special week for my family, and I called my mum and my dad straight away. And
how'd you go with the media hype? Because you would have been 17 still, 18?
I was still 17, but it was back when you didn't have to name a squad. So I was named in like the 21 jersey on the night of the game, but true to form, no secrets in rugby league. The back page of the paper on the Friday, it was a Friday night game, came out, and it was me and Asada, who just recently passed away actually.
Oh, really?
We debuted together.
Oh, wow.
So it was me and him on the back page because he was debuting in the same game. And I went to school that morning thinking I'd try and have a normal routine. And I walked in and took one look at the paper and turned around, rang my mum and said, "Come on, mum, pick me up. I'm out of here."
Wow, that's crazy. You imagine, like, you're so young still,
Yeah.
At the time, you don't realise how young you are.
Yeah, at the time, I think I took it for granted, and I was just so excited.
Yeah.
But I see some guys come up and train with us now who are 16, 17-year-olds. And I was looking at myself, I said, I can't believe they'll let me play like so young.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. Yeah. I look at like 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds now, and I'm like, man, like you're a baby still.
Yeah.
You're such a baby.
Mate, still a boy, mate.
Yeah,
a boy,
wow.
and I played, thrust in with the men. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it. Loved it.
What do you remember from the game?
I remember one of my first defensive sets. We were off a scrum, and when they did these, Mark Gazzi and Matt Cooper were lined up in front of me, and it was just off the scrum, but they didn't end up shifting all the way out, and then they ended up going to the far side of the field, and it was when Nathan Brown was toying with playing two centres on the same side of the field for a couple of sets. So I remember like literally getting back on my goal line, looking up and going, shit, there's Mark Gazzi and Matt Cooper both on my side. Like, got to try and stop him. And that's a memory that stands out for me.
Yeah.
It was a hard game. I think Jamie Soward kicked the field goal late in the game. I think we lost by a point.
Oh, really?
I think my first 3 games in first grade, we lost by a point. We had the next week we went and played the Broncos. Darren Lockyer had a 90-minute draw.
A 90-minute draw.
So it was, went to Golden Point, no points scored, and then had the 90-minute draw. That was Lachlan Coote's debut.
Yeah, okay.
And after that game, I'm going, this is the hardest thing ever.
Yeah, because it's constant grind.
It's the hardest thing ever. And then I think the third week we had a win, and we didn't win convincingly either. It was another grind, and I just remember thinking, this is the hardest thing in the world.
I'm going to do this every single week for 26 rounds.
Yeah, and we're playing from in the Penrith juniors, where we're pretty always strong, and we'd run away with a lot of games, and we were pretty dominant as juniors. But it was a tough transition.
That's 2008.
It's 2008.
So okay, and so the next few games. The 90-minute draw. I played in the 90-minute draw. I'm pretty sure. I think Hoffman was the fullback.
So Hoffman debuted, did he?
Yeah,
that was his debut. Yeah, because Lockie Coote debuted as well.
Yeah, and he got hooked from the fullback position, and I had to swap with him because Jennings was fucking tearing him apart.
Jenko wasn't like he tore up a lot of players.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
So Lockie Coote had a kick from the sideline to win the game.
Yep, and he
missed it. Wasn't quite the sideline. I remember it being like maybe 40 out and on the tram line, and he missed it. But he got man of the match in his debut.
How good's that?
Yeah, 90-minute.
Fucking hell, yeah, I remember that.
So he was only 18 too. Me and Lockie Coote were born both in the 90s.
Okay.
But because my birthday falls so late in the year, end of October, I was still 17.
Okay.
Of my 18th year, and Cootie was already 18.
Oh,
I remember one game that year. So we had Joey Paulo, who was 20, was the edge back rower. I was 17. I was a half. Michael Jennings was 20.
Yeah.
He was the centre, and Lockie Coote was 18. He was the winger. That was our left edge in first grade.
Right, that's crazy.
It was an under-20s edge.
That's crazy.
And we were all playing first grade.
So, it's so good for you guys, but also so worrying as a coach. I would have been wigging out like these youngsters playing against men. Holy. And you obviously held your own.
Yeah, well, it was just good fun, I remember.
Yeah, you're so young. You just get caught up in it all. Yeah, you're not thinking about it.
It's like we say, like at that time, we were just happy to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We weren't really thinking too much beyond playing. Like we just wanted to play, get out there and play a game of footy on the weekend. It was
life's good.
Yeah,
you're playing
easy,
NRL. Like everything's just working.
Yeah.
So the next year, round 4, you score your first meaty. Do you remember that?
Yeah, actually, I do remember this only because I was on the Vossies the fan the other day.
Okay.
And they were doing a thing all about how many out of 10 questions you can get for your first try.
Yeah.
So I do remember it was West Tigers late in the game. Who kicked it? Someone kicked it. Luke Walsh might have kicked it. I can't remember. That was a question I got wrong with Vossi.
Okay.
But yeah, I just picked up the scraps. The fullback dropped it.
Yep.
I think he got hooked after that too. And then I just picked up the scraps and scored under the post.
Try, mate. You'd never forget your first try.
Nah, it was good. I remember the try. I just didn't remember all the details. Vossi goes into every detail. It's like, geez, you're testing me now, but it was good.
It just all blows into one, to be honest. Like a lot of the stuff, like I watch highlights sometimes now, and I'm like, I don't even remember doing that. You know what I mean? Like in games and that.
Well, it's funny because I remember guys like Louis. He used to tell me, mate, enjoy it, because it's going to go fast. And then at times when you're stuck in the rat race and in the grind, it doesn't feel like it's going fast at all. But sitting here now, like it's
it feels like
2021 season, and we're talking about 2008 when I debuted. I still feel like the same guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
absolutely
13 years ago.
It's like when you're younger, you look at the older boys and you're like, they've got it all figured out. Like they know what they're doing, they know what's going on. They're like adults and shit. And then you get to 30 years old and you're like, I'm a kid in my head. Like, what's going on?
I still feel the same as I was that
100%.
first year when I debuted.
So 2010, so you obviously you cement yourself as basically a full-time first grader. 2010 rolls around and you sign with the Sharks. How did that? Was that purely because you wanted to play? Was that from your wanting to leave, or was it more the club saying, "Look, you're just not going to get the role"? What was that about?
It's just pretty much salary cap restraints.
Okay.
Managing the salary cap. So what had happened that year, 2010, in the trial match against Parramatta, I broke my collarbone and through my AC, so I had to get that repaired, and I was missing for 12 weeks.
Wow.
And then through that 12 weeks, we actually went really well at Penrith. We were coming maybe first or second on the table for the majority of the year.
Okay.
And Luke Walsh was playing halfback, and Travis Byrne had signed from Manly. We might have been playing at the Cowboys and down with us. And they were going really well in the halves. And then by the time I come through, I'd play a little bit of reserve grade, or I'd come onto the bench and fill a utility role in first grade. But in the background, so myself, Lachlan Coote, Frankie Pritchard, Michael Jennings, Sam McKendry, Tim Grant, all these guys are off contract.
Yeah.
And because most of us are on our junior contracts,
massive
I was
upgrade.
still on so that was my third year of first grade. I was still getting paid match payments.
Okay,
I was still on my junior.
Would have been like 50 in match payments.
Yeah,
or
it would have
something
been. So I was still on my junior contract, and at the time they just had to make a decision with which players they could keep, because Jenko was on the border of playing for New South Wales. Sam McKendry was playing Test footy for New Zealand, so they just had to make decisions around the salary cap. And because the two boys in the halves have been playing well, when the offers came in from Cronulla and North Queensland, they were the two main offers. When they came in, Penrith just couldn't afford to keep me, and they said, well, we're not going to really fight hard. We're not going to match that, so good luck and good luck with everything. So that was just a decision that was made by management. And at the time it was devastating for me, but
being a local guy
and loving the club so much, I never thought I'd ever leave Penrith. But I learned pretty early in my career what the game can be like, and now that I'm older and I've been through the game a lot, experienced a lot more around the club, like especially being a captain of the club and how things work from their perspective. It's just the way it is sometimes, and unfortunately for me,
do they handle it right? I think most players can cop what you're talking about if it's handled right, as in like they say, look, this is the truth, this is what's happening. Was it?
Yeah, I think I don't. To be honest, I haven't thought too much about it.
Okay.
At the time, I just remember being devastated as a kid. I didn't have any inkling of leaving Penrith whatsoever. It wasn't until my manager sat me down and said, listen, we have these offers here and they're not going to really get near that. Okay. So it might be better for you and your career and your development to move on. They've sort of settled on their position with the roster and where you fit in it, and it might be time for you to move on. And then sort of, once that settles in, it's like, well, okay.
It is what it is kind of thing.
Move on with it. And then...
so were you close to going to North Queensland?
I was close. I was much closer to going to North Queensland in the very beginning than to go to Cronulla for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Well, so did you go up there and visit and everything?
No, I met with their management and had a coffee with them, and went through where they saw me playing. And at the time, I was still playing in the halves, so the big appeal was to go and play outside JT.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the massive appeal to go and get in the halves with him and play. But I was leaving Penrith for the first time. I was still living at home with mum and dad. I was still only 18 or 19. And then Paul Gallen gave me a call. And at that time, he was the captain of New South Wales. And I'd met with Flano. I'd met with the management, Darren Mooney at the time, who's come back to the club now. And they sold me a really good picture of where they saw me going and the club going. And then sort of Gow reaffirmed that. When he called me and said, we want you down at the club. We think you could do this and this and this, and we back you. Sort of just got me over the line. And
so you think if Gal doesn't call, you probably end up at the Cowboys?
Not 100% sure, but it's just
helped.
It just helped get me there and reaffirm. And the move to North Queensland would have been big because I'd never lived out at home. So even the first year I signed at Cronulla, I still lived at home and I travelled for 12 months.
Yep.
So I was still very young at the time, and I just thought leaving the club that that was all I'd ever known. Then juggling living out of home, being in North Queensland, which I know it's not far away in the scheme of things. But
when you're young, it's
in 2009, it was
might be a world, may as well be a world away.
2010, it was a lot. It was a big decision for me. It was too many things for me to take on at one time. And then Cronulla just felt good. It felt right, and it hasn't always been an easy road there. It's been filled with plenty of bumps, but you know what? Now it's my journey. It's made me who I am. Certainly had a lot of good times there too, and I wouldn't change it for anything now.
Especially with the Premiership.
100%.
So that's 2010. So you sign. 2011 is when you start with the Sharkies.
End of 2010, which is the pre-season for 2011. So it's 19 at the time when I started down there.
Yep. And what was that like?
That was when it was still running pre-season in October. End of October was when you started pre-season.
Torture. So early.
So there's 8 weeks before Christmas you get in.
Mate, you're getting pumped, and then there's another fucking 8 weeks after Chrissy, pretty much.
Yeah. So it was different. It was good when I went to Cronulla because at Penrith, I was still the kid. Who'd come through, was been through the system. Whereas when I went to Cronulla, I was actually a recruit. They got there to play first grade, and they thought it would make a difference. So my whole probably mindset around going there and playing was different. But it was a challenge. Like I said, I travelled from home with mum and living with mum and dad. I didn't really probably fit into the team as well because it was an hour and a bit in the car each way. So
you couldn't hang around in that.
Couldn't really hang around all that much. I'd be there pretty much as soon as I could be, but then as soon as I'd finish training, I'd be in the car and driving home. So it was a transition, and it took a bit of time. But the following year, I moved to Maroubra. I got a unit in Maroubra and moved there, and 2012, 2013 was when I really started to find my feet.
Yeah. And so were you, at what point did you start moving out to the edge as a wide running forward?
So the first year I played all in the halves. Flannel was great. Like, I wasn't playing good footy at the start of the year, but he was persistent with me, and he let me know, mate, I got you here to play in the halves. You're going to play every game this year as long as you're fit and healthy. Like, we don't need you to be the best. We need you to just keep improving.
Yep.
And, I was lucky that I had that sort of coach who believed in me and just gave me an opportunity to find my feet, really, and to get confident and to get consistent and to work out the kinks. And, his belief in me helped, me believe in myself again, especially after, being let go by Penrith. And then after that first 12 months, like I said, it was really when I started to find my feet. The following year, we signed Toddy Carney and Jeff Robson. And at the start of the year, it was me and Toddy, and I opened a couple of rounds playing 5'8" and half. He was playing half, and I was playing 5'8". And I was sort of left to Toddy to organise the team and for me to swing off him. And we worked out pretty early that it was taken away from his strength, and we weren't really combining best because we were both sort of playing eyes up, and the team was sort of lacking from it. So then Jeff Robson came in, who was real steady halfback, organised the team, could get the team around the park, could kick well. Toddy was always a better 5'8" than me. He's a better 5'8" than most 5'8".
Yeah, he's a gun.
So he stayed in 5'8", and then Flano said, I'm going to put you to the edge. So he said, we'll put you on the edge. I started coming, Gow was still playing on the edge then, and I'd come off the bench. He goes, but we'll just get you into that role. And
it's a big change, man. Edge back role from 6. Like
it was a big change, but I was playing on the left anyway because I'm a left foot kicker.
So just a step in, really.
And then Flano said to me, I don't want you to play like a back row where you just hit a down line all the time. He said, I want you to sit on that edge, run when you want to run, call plays like you would as normally in your half.
Okay.
Keep your eyes up and play footy. Kick when you want to kick. So he said, mate, you're just defending one in and playing one.
Okay,
one
so it really
right
gave you the freedom to play
so like a second 5'8" almost.
Okay.
And then, after that, we spent pretty much the middle half of that season where Gow would be the first front row would change. Gow would go into the middle, and then I'd come on the edge and just sort of ease my way into it. And then after that, we really never looked back.
And did you feel you enjoyed it off the bat pretty much? Like you really
loved it? I did enjoy it, really, because I've always enjoyed defending. And I was always a bigger sort of half anyway. So the defensive workload wasn't much of a worry.
Okay.
And then because I wasn't really restricted in how I could play, Flano just said, mate, just go out there and play. If you see numbers, just get the ball.
It's kind of like the perfect scenario because you can get your hands on the ball whenever you want pretty much if you're not just hitting holes, but you also don't have to always worry about setting the boys up. You know what I mean? You can just get it and play footy.
Yeah, it was good. And then, really that 2012 year, started to develop into that role. And 13, 14, by that stage, I'm a back rower.
2012, invited to represent Portugal in the 2012.
That's a Wikipedia special.
That's a Wikipedia. Okay.
I still get journos asking me about it. When you represented Portugal, I said, mate, someone edited my Wikipedia that. And so...
how good is that? Same as mine. It says I'm Turkish and Kiwi. Neither of them.
Yeah,
I'm literally neither of them.
It's funny, mate, because you can tell, because some journos will come and ask me a question about it. I say, well, you obviously not doing really, really good research if you just check it on Wiki, because someone's put that in years and years ago.
How good is that?
It still pops up every now and again, right now.
Because it says, you're a representative player for Australia and Portugal, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. If I've got any relations in Portugal... I do like Portuguese chicken.
It's so weird. Portugal is such a random, fucking...
I want to know who did it because none of my friends have ever owned up to it. So
really? Biggest G
it
up?
must just be some random. And if it's you, just reach out.
Reach out, let us know.
I'll give you a shout out and it'd be good to know you've got so many journos before. It's pretty good.
Mate, it's a great get to journos. Yeah. So 2013 rolls around and what's tough for you personally is you're getting your career's rolling on, you're in the back row, and then the Asada hits, and it is I think some of the worst thing about the Asada thing for you boys, in my opinion, is that it just never goes away. Yeah. You've always got to talk about it. It's always this just thing that happened, even though it's such a vague thing. There's no a lot of players don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It was
Well, mate, to be honest, some of the young guys coming in the first grade now wouldn't even know about it. They wouldn't even remember about it. But there was no winners out of that whole saga. Dragged on for 2 years, and it was the 2 years went like a blur. The first year, because we were all so angry and we just didn't know what was going on, and we were really super tight and connected at Cronulla. It was sort of we had that us against everyone mentality, and we managed to go out there and play good footy.
Yeah.
We actually played good footy. I think we got beat by Manly in maybe the second semi, and they go on to win the comp.
They won the comp.
And we just held on together so well that year. But it was a hard year, mate.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we got told by the lawyers, no, you're not playing this week. You're being stood down, and then we get to the Wednesday. So no, you're playing this week, but it'll be next week. And you just didn't know what to do. It took its toll on everyone as individuals. Took its toll on everyone's family as individuals.
Absolutely.
And there was no really end date to it. So you're just sort of fighting through the murkiness and
and what's going to happen?
What's happening? You just never knew really. And but we managed to hold it together that year. And the next year we roll around and and we're still sort of unbeknownst to what's going on. It's gone for a year already. We just don't know when it's going to end. And then 2014, Flano gets stood down, and Sharpie takes over, and we have a couple of injuries, and then everything just fell to shit. Really? Everything.
Wow.
Everyone has just had enough, and
mentally fatigued,
just tired all the time. And it was just a hard time. And footy was really no one's focus really. Everyone was just worried about, are you okay? What's going on? When's it going to end? We're getting correspondence from the NRL, from Asada, from the club, just trying to get through the whole mess. I had 2 interviews with Asada, and then you don't really get any feedback. You just got to wait and see what happens. And
the infamous thongs, the thong thing?
Yeah. Well,
because you apparently are disrespectful because you rock up in thongs or something like that?
If I had my time over, I would have changed and I would have dressed appropriately for sure.
But that's hindsight. You don't know.
I know. Yeah. Well, at the time, mate, so what is that, 2014? It might have been 2013. 2014, I'm 23 years old. And I got told I was to go to a meeting that was confidential, that no one was supposed to know about. So
absolutely.
I was pretty relaxed, and I wasn't going to be investigated. I was going to assist. I was going to assist in an investigation. So it wasn't as if
you were a full.
I told I was there, and we're going to put you in a lineup.
Yeah,
it was
just to assist. Kind of thing.
And again, in my head, I was doing what the club had said. I'm going to assist an investigation. I wasn't going to the police station, so I was actually kind of relaxed about it.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I should have known. But again, a lesson learnt.
Yeah, lesson learnt. But it's so easy to look with the information now. You didn't know that back then. It was all new. You'd never dealt with any of this. You're like, you're just going to help them out with give them any information. Okay, sweet, I'll rock up. I'll be there. It's just a normal fucking.
Well, it's a lesson learned again, and that's why I say you get experience.
Yeah, experience matters.
You get experience by doing some dumb shit when you're young. And I certainly did my fair share.
Yeah.
I hope to think I'm better for it now. And if I was in that position nowadays and, there's a young guy going to judiciary or going to the police station or something, I'd say, hey, mate,
just dress nicely.
Maybe put some nice, neat clothes on.
Yeah. Okay, so
do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah. Don't look at that picture with Mimi thongs on. So Flano gets so when the final judging does come down, was it kind of a relief in a bit?
It was a relief, to be honest. It was a bit of pill to swallow because we were happy to keep fighting it as a playing group. But, we were put in a position where we'd be stood down without pay. And so we'd have to fight it and pay for it for ourselves.
Wow, yeah.
But then you go and you ask, well, how long is it going to take? Like, how long will we be fighting for it? How long will the investigation take to conclude? It already had run 2 years.
Yeah.
And they couldn't give us a definitive date.
Put you in an impossible position.
So it's like, well, if you can't give us the definitive date, and then the other option was you take this backdated ban. I'd just had surgery on my foot, so I was out for the rest of the season anyway.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, take this backdated ban, you'd miss, you can come back to train, I think it was mid-November, come back to train. It's just like, well, we didn't really have any decision to make.
Yeah, it's not a
so,
decision. Like you would have been crazy to keep charging. It would have hurt the club and your fans more to keep charging down this bizarre route of fucking trying to prove something that they still don't have any proof for. Anyway, we won't go into details. It's the whole thing is bizarre.
So, but to answer your question, there was a certain amount of relief that at least there was an end date. The date had finished, and we knew where we were allowed to start back up again.
Yeah, fresh start.
And that was a fresh start. And then, so I went away. So I was 23. So then I went away for 8 weeks. I did 4 weeks traveling in Europe. I stayed with a mate, and then I did 4 weeks traveling in the US. Stayed with another mate. Spent a shitload of cash. Put a shitload of weight on.
Yeah. Come back to sloppy.
But it was one of the best things I ever did because it was completely something I'd never done before. I was traveling on my own, just catching up with friends here and there. I wasn't thinking about footy, and that was something I'd done. All I'd ever done was think about footy since I was 14, 15 years old.
Yep.
So it was a good little, especially after the last 2 years, 13, 14 seasons,
refresher.
just got out there, got the travel, got to realise that, people in Barcelona don't give a shit about the NRL.
No, I couldn't care less. They don't even know what the sport is.
They don't care who you are as a person.
Because like during that period, there were times where you didn't even know, like, there wasn't even coaches to train you. Like there were times when you were rocking up, from what I've been told, where you're basically like, is training on? Like, I don't know. Like, what's doing?
Well, sometimes we'd have like, the trainers would just shout, trains at 8 o'clock tomorrow. But we've been told in the afternoon by the lawyers that we're getting stood down. So, like,
don't come to training.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you been told what we've been told? Because we're gone.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to train. When they said we've been stood down, it's just chaos, man.
Head noise.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone, to be honest.
Fuck that.
I'm certainly not on the scale that we went through.
And it was just the length, like 2.5 years or whatever. It's like,
to be honest, through the whole thing, I'm just really thankful that nobody hurt themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone got through it.
Absolutely.
But there's some boys who were really struggling there for a bit, myself included. Like, I was lucky that I was close with Toddy and a couple of other boys who had gone through adversity in their careers, and I was living at home by myself, in a house by myself, and there'd be nights where Toddy'd message me and go, "Oh, would you want to come for dinner?" And I'd just, "Oh, no, I'm all right, man. Like, I'm just going to stay at home. I don't want to go out." And Toddy would come and pick me up and say, "Mate, you're coming out. You're not sitting at home by yourself.
Absolutely.
Like staring at the wall." He said, "You're coming out, mate." So I was lucky I had some good support around me, and thankfully, all the boys got through it,
mate, because it's just so many things that can happen, and you got your families, you got then you feel guilty because you feel like you've let your family down.
It's like a bit of life perspective too. A lot of us are young men, and because we live in the NRL bubble, we think everything we read and hear and are involved about is the be all and end all. But as I said, like going overseas and going to another country where they don't give a shit who you are.
Literally don't care.
You're literally nothing. It certainly... It humbles you a lot and makes you realise, hang on, I'm just one small cog in a big race. And yes, the NRL is big in Australia and England and New Zealand and other countries, but it's not the be all and end all, mate. Life goes on.
Absolutely.
And, you're just one cog in the big machine.
Yep, absolutely. So 2016, you get named in the New South Wales Blues squad. How did that phone call come about? And basically, was it expected? Was it not expected? But I'm sure it was a dream for you.
Yeah. So another bit of not a smooth ride, another hiccup in my career.
Yep.
So I trained the season before in 2014. I was 18th man when the Blues won the series.
So 2014. Yep.
So I'd been 18th man, 19th man for a few games throughout the previous season, and then in 16, I finally get picked to debut. So we're playing Monday night, and the team's picked. Remember, you used to get picked halfway through Monday night footy.
Yep.
So I got picked halfway through Monday night footy.
And
then in the second half, so I get picked in the team. In the second half, I come out of line and hit JT high.
Yep, I remember this.
And get put on a report for a grade 1 careless high tackle.
Mate.
So my first week as an Origin player, I flew up, had the first night with the team, Tuesday, fly back down Tuesday night, and get suspended from Origin.
Oh, and it was right there. You could taste it.
It was there.
And like the irony that it's against JT in Queensland.
I know.
Oh, fuck. So were you aware that you'd been selected at halftime?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
no,
so you didn't know. So you'd been selected, then you come out and fucking nearly take JT's head off.
I know. Maybe someone should have whispered at me at half time. I might have just said, mate, Flano, just take me off for the last 20, would you?
Wait, just chill for half a game.
Yeah.
Just chill. Just make your tackles. Don't try and dominate anyone.
So, so that happened. Just another example of not straight path. But I was lucky. Tyson Frizzell comes in and he debuts instead of me. It was at Suncorp. We lose that game, and Laurie gets me in for game 3. So it came a day, and it was game 3, and it was Gow's last game.
Oh, how good's
so
that?
Someone obviously I'd played a lot of footy with. It was his last game for New South Wales. So I got one in. It was at ANZ, and it was a game where remember we scored right on the bell, the long try, and then Aaron Woods comes over to celebrate. And that was the game. So
that's like literally the worst try celebration.
So I got there, and as
all the best.
To answer the question, it was a dream come true, mate. We watched the Blues, a lot of heartache through those years. Most of my career to that date had been Queensland dominating, and then to be around the squad for a few years in the 18th, 19th man, and to finally be able to get out there and play. It's like, Origin is. You sit there as a 6 and 7 year old with your dad on Wednesday night and watch the Origin. That's what it is. Like,
it's folklore.
Yeah,
it's mystical even,
That's what it is. Your bedtime's at 8:30, but on Wednesday when Origin's on, you're allowed to go to bed when the game's finished. It's
100%.
It's got that aura about it, and
Yep.
it's a special piece of rugby league, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to have experienced it and to play, to win one. Yes, it's awesome.
Mate, what do you remember from that? The first game, is there anything other than fucking Aaron Woods flying over the thing? What do you remember from the game?
Oh, I felt pretty calm. The series was over. I think it was the dead rubber, our game.
Yep.
So a little bit bittersweet that it had come a week late, but it was my debut. My family was there, so I know it was a dead rubber to everyone else, but it meant a hell of a lot to me and my family. Again, being able to be part of Gow's last game was good.
Yep.
Someone who played a lot of footy with, and to get to share that stage with him was good. It was just a really good time, and we won the game. So, the realization of a lot of dreams come true that night especially for my personal family. So it was
big year for you though. So that's when you won the comp, correct?
Yeah,
2016. So you're heading into this crazy run. It was 15 wins in a row.
Yeah, we would have been
in it.
We would have been in the middle of that 15.
So what's happening? You're basically you're going on this crazy run, and it's kind of like, wow, this could happen here. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think so. 15, we had a really good year. I thought 15 was a bit of a lost opportunity. We lost a few games early, and we lost our last game to go into the top 4. So we sort of bowed out against North Queensland, up in North Queensland.
Oh wow!
They smoked us. It was 48. Mate, it might have been nil. It might have been 48-0.
Yeah, wow.
And then they go on to win the comp. So then we roll in the 16. Not much turnover, super confident. And then Benny Barber goes on a tear halfway through the year, and it turns us, who we were always a tough team and had, we had Jimmy then too, so we could find points, but then Benny would just be the
extra little bit you
need.
He'd
be just the icing on the cake every time. And one win turned into 3 wins, turned into 6 wins, turned into 12 wins.
The vibe would have just been
and then we went from, really thinking we could believe it, believe we could win to, knowing we could win. Like if we just played half as good as we played during the season, we know we could win. And at the back end of that year, after the 15 in a row, we lost a few games. We lost more than we won.
Yeah,
but I think at that stage, obviously the noise externally would start to talk that they peaked too early, but internally you just knew. At that stage you had Gow, Chris Hyington, Luke Lewis, Jim Maloney, Fafita, Matty Pryor, all these older fellas who were just treading water. They were just treading water and waiting for the finals to roll around because we'd locked in top 4. We'd almost guaranteed top 2 at that stage, but because we just didn't win one extra game heading home, we ended up having to go to Canberra. But everyone knew sort of we were ready to go and we're just waiting for the finals. And then we go down to Canberra, no Paul Gallen. I get knocked out in the second minute of the game.
Crazy win.
And then Matty Pryor plays by far the best game of his career. Single-handedly just takes it to Canberra. And, all the boys played well there, but Matty Pryor really stood up.
That's even the game where Chatty got hooked.
Yeah.
Crazy game. Game.
But we get it done.
And
we get it done, and then we have the week off. And then we play North Queensland, and because we had the week off, Gow came back. I'd recovered from the head knock. And we had that just week to rest, and then we played North Queensland. It was like we shot out a cannon that week.
And you would have remembered the year before going, fuck, not again.
So it was funny. We played the Cowboys, I think, 4 or 5 years in a row, and one year they would beat us and knock us out, and the next year we'd beat them and knock them out, and it went on for a while. Wow. So it was just one of those periods throughout our career where we just managed to find each other a lot. And Melbourne's the same. Over the next 16, 17, 18, we just seemed to find each other a lot. And then, so we shot out of a cannon that night, and we're comfortable and we win that game pretty well. And then, the 16 grand final.
What do you remember from the grand final?
You know what I remember the most? Is how good Melbourne played.
Oh, really?
Because we pretty much had a perfect first half.
Oh, you were incredible. I mean, you should have put 20 on them. Like, that was just so good.
Just goes to show, how good they were.
Crazy.
Because, we had the perfect first half.
And guns in good positions playing well.
There, and Melbourne just hung in there. And,
incredible.
They found the way to get the lead back. And then a special play by Fafita to score. But with no rights he should have scored. But he just finds it, and then just hanging on. Hanging on.
That last minute, bro. Oh, my God, bro. You just going, what's doing?
Just hanging on, man. Even watching now, it's crazy. But, you ask most Cronulla fans, and that's how they live, mate. Edge of seats. That's how we live, on the edge of our seats. And never knowing if you're going to win right down to the wire, and it's just... it's the best thing ever, mate. The best thing ever.
So the siren goes, you win the comp. What's that feeling like?
It's funny, relief, mate.
So much anxiety and stress.
Excitement, vindication with the team. We knew we could do it, and you just see a lot goes into it. A lot goes into it.
Everything needs to work. So much needs to work.
And then just relief, because it is a lifelong pursuit, right? You start off going, well, not lifelong, but... You're sitting there, 15, 16-year-old dreaming of playing first grade. You go, okay, I want to play first grade. You go, okay, you play first grade. You go, okay, I want to play first grade well. I want to be a really good player. I want to be an elite player. And then, you get there and you go, I want to win a competition. I want to win a competition. And, a lot of players, they don't get to win one.
Absolutely.
They don't get to win one.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the Penrith Panthers, they're so dominant last year, and then they lose in the final hurdle. Those guys, I mean, they might win but they also may never see a grand final again.
It's just never guaranteed, and so to have it done and to tick it off, and to go,
absolutely.
All the work and the early mornings and the late nights and all those track runs, you can sort of go, well, they're worth it now, 100% they're worth it because we got it done, and
no one can take that from you.
It's there, mate. We still. Had the season launch last night for this year and got the ring out and had a look at it, and it's just good. It's there, mate.
100%. Such an achievement. It just cannot be taken. Whatever someone wants to say to you, you'd be like, I worked for this and got it.
Yeah, it's a special time, and it's a special time for the club. Obviously, long history of just coming up short, and then it was just one of those special moments where not only was it extremely satisfying personally for and just even like as our teammates. That it's a tight bond between the team, but
Absolutely.
you could just tell how much it meant to the whole community, to the whole Shire. You could just feel them on that ride with you.
Absolutely.
And, mate, for months after, I remember going to a surf comp in like January the following year. It was just a surf comp down at North Cronulla Surf Club, and you could just see people walking around a little taller and just
chest out a bit.
proud to be from Cronulla, and just it was just a good time to be in the area. And yes, mate, the best memories.
Yeah,
best memories.
Mate, it was talk about epic grand finals, like down to the wire. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, the year before was the Kyle Felt try right on at the death.
Crazy.
At the death, and then JT misses the goal.
Yep.
And then you go the field goal straight after straight in the golden point, and then you go out. It's literally down to the last second. It's just 2 grand finals in 2 years.
Storm, surely not. Surely they're not going to do this. That would be just grasping.
Could you imagine Fano up in the box?
He would have there would have been a hurricane of anger in there. Oh my god.
He might have fainted.
Mate, he probably, you know what? I fucking would have fainted for him because could you imagine? Because you were the better side most of that game. Like you should have had a bigger lead, but they just somehow hung in there.
They played so well, mate.
Absolutely.
They played so well.
They had no right to be in that game. You were firing on all cylinders, and they just just do what Storm do. Just do what Storm do. And so, okay, the next year you make Origin. So you weren't selected for Origin 2018 because you had injury most of the first half of the season. What injury was that?
Oh, that was my hemi, I think.
Hemi,
yep. So I did my hemi. I missed game 1.
Yep.
I was available for game 2, but they'd already picked the team and we were playing well. And they won the first 2 games, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they
they won the first 2 games. So I wasn't involved in that series. It was a bit of an injury-plagued year for me, 2018, and then I didn't come good until the back end of the year.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that was disappointed not to be a part of it, but it was sort of that fresh crew come in, Freddie's crew. He made a lot of decisions around the team, and there was that, I think JT had retired, Smitty had retired, Billy had pulled the pin. Oh, actually, Billy still played that year.
Yeah, and he won the thing and everyone was blowing up.
Yeah. So Billy still played that year, but it was a real changing of the guard. So there was that excitement, and a lot of the guys I knew, I played with them the year before, and although disappointed that I couldn't take it, like playing it myself, I was really excited to be a Blues fan, and hang on, where you could feel the tide starting to turn a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they did a great job, and they got the job done then. So
2019, I think, didn't you have an injury for 2019? 19, and then but he brought you in for that game too.
So for Origin, the end of 2018, I do my ACL. In the prelim, not the prelim, the first final against the Roosters. I do my ACL and I'm gone. And the boys end up winning the next week against Penrith and going down to play Melbourne in the prelim. And we lose down there. But so I was out for the whole start of 2019 season. And then I played 2 games in 2019.
Had faith in you, put you in there.
Yeah, he put me in there. So.
Were you expecting that call?
No, so he rang me after Parramatta. Freddie gave me a call after the Parramatta game. It says, how you feeling? Pretty good. I'm fresh. I've done a heap of training. Yeah. Anyone who's come back from ACL knows there's no shortcuts. Like you got to put some work in to get back on the field.
Absolutely.
But against Parramatta, I came on and played 20 minutes, and it was a little cameo where we had all the ball. So I hadn't done much defence, hadn't really had a big blowout. So I said, we're playing down in Canberra this week. I know that'll probably be a bit more rugged, and I'm going to play longer minutes. So we'll see how I go after this game. And it was a Friday night game. Freddie was calling on the sideline. And we lost that game, but we got stuck into it. Me and Johnny Bateman was the first time we played in Australia. So I'd missed the start of that year and come back, and it was my second game back, and it was good. Like, he's obviously a tough competitor, super good player.
What's it like playing against a guy like Bateman?
No, he's good.
Very similar.
Yeah, he's really good because we played against each other in the World Club Challenge. Yep. So we sort of met each other there, come against each other there. And then so I knew he was a good player when he came to Australia. Okay. So when he was killing it was no surprise to me because he's won a couple of competitions over there. But yeah, it was good. And I knew it would be a good test. That's why when Freddie Round said, listen, we got Canberra this week.
It's going to be a test.
It's going to be better for me to get in there. So I got whacked. Was strong defensively. I got a black eye. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm back now.
Yeah, we're good here.
We're good here. And then Freddie come up to see me after the game and said, yeah, well, just keep it quiet, but you'll be in. So I'll give you a call soon. I was like, okay, no worries. And then, it was a good week. New South Wales just got beaten game 1.
Yep.
And so I got brought in. Jim Maloney got brought in, who was at Penrith at the time, but obviously I had a great connection with through Cronulla. Fergo came back in, so a lot of guys I knew and played with, and it was good. We went to Perth, and
because you came off the bench though, did you?
I came off the bench, but
what was it like sitting in the torrential rain?
Yeah, well, I wasn't on there for so long. So what happened was we warmed up and we ran out, did the anthems and that. I'm sitting on the bench, and I think like maybe 10, 15 minutes in, Boydo gets HIA.
Oh, okay.
So I go on and play in the back row. And then I spend me 15 minutes in, and then Boydo comes back on. I go back off. And then Nath picks up the injury. And there's probably maybe 5 minutes to go to half time. And I say, just get to half time if you can. And he said, yeah, sweet. So we got to half time. We came off, and then Freddie goes, Nath's no good. You're going to go back on and play 5'8".
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even really think about it, to be honest.
Really?
I was with Jimmy, so we'd played a lot of footy together, and I just said, mate, you just do that, and then I'll just do this off you, and we'll be sweet. And it was sweet.
Mate, yeah. So, I mean, personally, it would have been a special moment for you because you genuinely impacted an Origin game, and that's pretty much what won you that game over there where you really clawed back that kind of you would have got a lot of confidence out of that game, I think. What was the moment for you to play so well?
Yeah, it was special for a couple of reasons. It was one where we got the job done, right? And there was a lot of pressure on the team that week, and there was a lot of pressure on Freddie that week because of all the changes he'd made, and especially like around some of the decisions around picking me after not even a full game of footy.
It was a risky
decision, and there was some pressure around that. But so to get out there and do the job and to sort of,
impact the game and
play well and to justify the risk, it was good. But it's probably the first Origin I played where, we won the game a long way out. Like halfway through the second half, we'd put a score on. It was in the wet conditions, and we're just playing it by the end of it.
Enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So most Origins are intense down to the wire. Like most of the Origins before that, I'd play it. It goes down to the wire, and you're on the whole time. You don't really get a chance to take a breath and enjoy the game, enjoy the crowd, because you're just so focused on the game. But that game, we'll play in the end. In the end, we'll play.
It's a perfect scenario. The games you've got it. Yeah. You can genuinely sit back and go, lol.
Yeah.
I'm in a fucking Origin jersey looking around. There's fucking this.
It was good, mate. It was good. I had my all my family over there. My eldest was born at that stage, so he come into the shed. It was a good time. It was a good time of life for me. And it was a good game to be a part of. That's probably, you don't win many Origins by that score.
No way. So over in Perth, the torrential rain, there's a bit of folklore about it. Like that. I just always remember Tommy's catch. Thinking of that catch going, fuck me, this is hectic. Like, and it was one of his first games back too.
Well, that was another one too, because Tommy hadn't played much footy, so he came back in, and there was all sorts of stuff. Because remember, Jackie White had thrown the intercept when he came off the bench in game 1, but then Freddie actually promoted him to centre. He dropped Latrell, so there was a bit of
huge. It was huge.
It was huge decision making. There was a lot of pressure, but unknown about the team. So to go out there and just get it done, it's just crazy. Like, and especially in the fashion we did.
Oh, it was fucking, and it was a really, as a New South Wales fan, it's a really memorable game in my opinion. But then you win the series. That was a Teddy try, correct?
That was a Teddy try. So unfortunately, as much of an impact I could have in game 2, I didn't have any in game 3 because I came off the bench. Again, I played on the left edge. I'm not sure. I think they moved Boyd over to the right. Or maybe in the middle, and I'm playing, and maybe my second or third carry, I'm wrestling with Josh Papali. He's trying to tackle me and pull me down. I sort of stick my hips out to sort of fight back, and I pop my hemi attachment.
Oh, fucking hell.
So I felt it pop straight away, and
it's
it's not a pleasant feeling. It wasn't it wasn't really heaps of pain, but I felt it pop.
It kind of goes like numb painy. You can just it shoots out numb or whatever.
So then I do a couple of tests. I try and play on for a couple more minutes. I'm no good. I come off, and I watch the game from the sideline, and it's down to the wire again. We were pretty much cruising, and a couple of late tries from Queensland. 2 late tries, and then on the bell the Teddy try.
What was it like seeing Teddy just in Fergo and?
It was just good try. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the sideline and you could sort of see it. It was like it was all unfolding in I wouldn't say slow-mo, but you could just see it all unfolding.
Absolutely, because it was a long
pass to Piercy, and then long pass to Turbo, and then Fergo down the sideline.
And you're kind of like sitting there going, what?
And the whole time you're tracking Teddy through the middle, and you just see him. And as soon as he gets the ball, you know.
No, he's going to score.
Yeah, he knows
no one's tackling him one-on-one. There's no way.
Not when he's got gags turned around and stuff like that. It's just too hard. And so again, that was at that stage. I'd won the premiership. I'd been 80th man for an Origin series, which had won the comp. I actually hadn't played in the series that had won.
Yep.
So that was
another
little tick off, and a special time to be around another good team, a great team. And again, probably more so an instance where I've been very grateful just to have opportunity to be a part of it, because I wasn't in game one. By rights, there's a bit of a crazy call to pick me for game two in Freddie's behalf. And then game three, I was a part of it, but didn't really contribute all that much. But grateful to just be a part of that arena.
And so is it the goal this year? Obviously the goal is club first, but is it a real goal to get back into that Origin side?
Oh, I'd love to play Origin for sure. Definitely. I still feel like, no doubt, I can play at that level, and I want to. So, all I need to do is play well at Cronulla, really, and that's back rows are. It's a lot of talented guys that play in the back row. There's a lot of talented guys.
Especially you guys. Like New South Wales have fucking depth for days in the back row.
It'll be interesting to see how Boydo goes this year. With he's spending the first 12 rounds out, so I think it's 12, is it?
Yeah, it's 12 rounds.
So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. It might be good for him, to be honest, like long-term wise, not so much for 2021, but to have a bit of a break and freshen up.
He's too tough for his own good.
Yeah, he's a tough hombre.
He's
a tough hombre.
When you're tough in a tough sport, you're fucking tough as fuck. Yeah. He is tough as. So whatever outcome, I hope it's the best for him, but I do believe it's really good that he's going to be able to rest his mind, his body, everything.
Yeah, he might even get an extra year on the back end because of it. Absolutely. So, but Angus Crichton played the remainder of last year, a series there, so he's a good player, talented player. So, for me, it's just play well for Cronulla. If the opportunity's there, the opportunity's there.
Ask all the boys this. I would have asked you this last time. Favorite rapper of all time?
I can't go back Tupac. I can't go past Tupac.
Yeah, you can listen to his music today and it's still hectic.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually been getting into Jay-Z a fair bit lately. Like
really?
The old school stuff.
I'm not a Jay-Z fan.
Like the Blueprint, that's got some pretty good stuff.
He's just never appealed to me. Like, I respect his skill, but there's artists that are like, really popular, but I just don't get the sound.
You got to get to his early stuff, mate.
Okay,
you got his early stuff.
Yep,
I'll send you some songs.
Okay, I'll send me some songs. You might change my mind, but I doubt it.
Songs. Okay,
my mind's already closed pretty much.
Okay, well, you never know, mate. You're in Sydney now, mate. You might need to just open up a few more doors.
I'll open the mind. All right, Jay-Z. Next time, next podcast, I'll be saying Jay-Z's a goat.
I'll send you some songs.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, mate, Jesus.
What was the first thing that came to your head?
For me, Gladiator came to my head for some reason.
That's one of my goats.
Like, just all those old school epics, and even like Mel Gibson, Braveheart, and The Patriot.
They don't really make them anymore, do they?
I like those epics. But you know what I watch? My missus hates. I watch Ocean's 11 all the time.
Oh, really?
But only when I'm going to sleep. For me, it's like white noise. I put the movie on
and relaxes you.
I just drift off to sleep. I set the sleep timer and I'm done. But my missus hates it.
Really?
Hates it.
Well, of course. She's fucking listening to it every night.
Yeah, she gets the TV and like the little mouse goes in her head and it keeps her awake. She's got to keep watching the movie.
Because
it's just, I'm gone.
Fucking hell. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of on her side, to be honest. I've dogged you, but no. Ocean's 11 is so good. Like, I just love how snappy it is, and it's a good movie. They did the Ocean's 8, I think, with the girls and that, but I didn't have the same kind of feel to it.
Well, I still feel Ocean's 11 is probably the best one of the three.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Is that the one where Matt Damon's like the nose plays?
No, that's the third one.
That's the third one? No wonder I remember that one.
That's good, but that's one.
The nose does play. Trust me, the nose plays, boys.
In my order, go 11, 13, and then 12.
Okay, sweet. Bro, thank you so much for coming on, bro. Good luck for this year, and boom, Dunskies.
Thanks, mate, and good luck to you too. Keep kicking goals, man.
Thanks, brother.